Who do you think was the best one? Hi, I'm Smith. I'm an AEW fan, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking all of the men's AEW World Champions from worst to best. I figured this would be a great time to do it as any. It's the 7-year anniversary of the first piece of content we ever got from AEW, which was the first ever Double or Nothing back in 2019. And for context, this will be written and recorded and uploaded somewhere within the first couple of weeks to a couple of days after the Double or Nothing that falls on this year. As of right now, there have been 10 unique AEW World Champions, and I have a lot to say about some of them. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Trust me when I say the last thing I want to do is talk bad about my GOAT. But the truth hurts. Being one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation doesn't really help your case when you have 2 world title runs that were cut short by suspensions and injuries before they had the chance to amount to anything beyond just existing for a couple of days. The trajectory of winning the belt, having to give it up because of injury, but still technically being recognized as the champion, losing it in your first match back, winning it back a week later, and then immediately having to vacate it because you got suspended is not good. To be honest, the less said about this time period of AEW, and especially this run, the better. Hey, remember what I said about not wanting to slander my GOAT? Well, unfortunately, I have to do that again. Was it a fantastic moment to see him win the world title? You're goddamn right it was. But am I gonna sit here and tell you that the 2 months he spent being world champion were also great? No, I am not. Especially when the defining moments from this already short run were, if we're being generous, quality without the reputation. He main evented All Out against Jack Perry, which wasn't a terrible match, but this was also when Jack Perry was at his most hated for all the wrong reasons. And he also had a third match with Okada, which sounds like it would be peak on paper until you remember they already done that song and dance twice before, and those 2 matches were way better than that third one. His AEW run was generational, but his AEW title run was not. It's not easy being a world champion during a time where fan morale is at a low point, but that's why you have guys like Samoa Joe. He always has great matches, he can talk like it's nobody's business, and the 4 months he spent as the world champ making Swerve Strickland look like a main event caliber star worked quite well. So why do I have him ranked so low? Well, because the quality of defenses and the caliber of star power he was defending it against really weren't there, and I can't really justify that. His match with Hangman and Swerve was great, but beyond that you have his match with Hook, which was kind of whatever, and nothing else really stood out. And before anyone says anything, yes, I know he's a 2-time champ, but that second run didn't even last a whole month, and the only reason it's technically not a transitional run is because there's 1 defense against Eddie Kingston squeezed in there. That's not a jab on Eddie whatsoever, just a commentary on the general lack of substance across 2 runs. When you're an up-and-coming promotion, it's important to have star power and name recognition, especially in your world title scene. And outside of Chris Jericho, I don't know if there's anybody else that they could have picked that would have been the caliber of star that he was in the eyes of casual fans that also didn't have any legal ties to WWE. He's not someone I would have picked at any other point to be a world champion, but as an inaugural champion, he was a hell of a pick. Some might say it should have been Moxley, but then that would have robbed us of Moxley rising to superstardom in a much better way, but we'll get to that. The way Jericho reinvents himself has always been one of the most defining aspects of his character, and it helped tremendously with the novelty of AEW still being a brand new company at the time. His match with Cody at the first Full Gear was great. His program with Moxley leading to their match at the first Revolution was everything that it needed to be. And even though it didn't quite live up to the hype, I rocked with the Inner Circle, and I thought that in concept it was very good and at least had a very hot start. Other standout matches from this run include his defense against Scorpio Sky and their Eliminator match that came before that, and his 10-minute challenge with Jack Perry. The biggest reason it's hard to rank Darby's run right now is because as I write and record this, it literally just started. It looks promising, and there's all the potential in the world for it to be a longer generational run, but as any power scaler will tell you, potential does not equal feats. That being said, the feats are nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, in the little over a month he's had the title, he's already defended it against, dear God, Tommaso Ciampa, Brody King, Pac, Kevin Knight, Konosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, and Speedball Mike Bailey. He's defended him so much I had to write it all down just to remember it. That and the fact that this current story right now with MJF looks like it's not gonna be over anytime soon means only time will tell if I'll be able to rank it higher or not. But in the meantime, he's being a hell of a fighting champion. You gotta call and response over. That's it. That's the only argument I need. Whose house? Nah, but seriously, Swerve may not be as homegrown as some other fresh AEW names, but damn if he hasn't proved himself to be the best version of his character here than in any other promotion that he's ever been in. Him being proper representation as AEW's first ever Black World Champion was already great, but it doesn't just stop there. Seeing him win the world title at Dynasty was actually magical and was absolutely the right call. Samoa Joe made him look like $1 million, and that match solidified that he is a main event caliber star, the kind of star that most of us watching already knew he was and wanted to see him be. And don't get it twisted thinking that it was all aura, because that couldn't be further from the truth. His defense against Christian Cage at Double or Nothing 2024 was great, even gave us a hell of a finisher reversal in the spear turning into the house call. And his match with Ospreay at that year's Forbidden Door was the stuff of legends. Everything about that match was perfect down to the last minute details. And even though it's been a while since he's been world champion, he still remains one of the most compelling characters on AEW programming at any given time. And that wouldn't have been possible if he wasn't able to shine during that world title run. Every story needs a protagonist, even if it has to be a drunk cowboy on a redemption tour. If I had a nickel for every time Hangman got his comeuppance against the top heel that punked him out the first time they went to blows, but then he was able to take their world title off of him in a match of the year contender, I'd have 2 nickels, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a testament to Hangman's character and his ability as a babyface that he did it twice. Him taking it off of Kenny Omega and then having defenses against Adam Cole, Lance Archer, and Bryan Danielson twice was already enough to give him a high ranking as a world champ. And then there's the second run. Him and Kyle Fletcher put on an all-time classic at All Out 2025. He also had successful defenses against Jon Moxley, Samoa Joe, MJF, Lee Moriarty, all while still being popular enough to be seen as the protagonist in the eyes of the AEW faithful. Wrestling fans love when somebody who wants to redeem themselves genuinely gets to, almost as much as they love seeing a good guy get rewarded for the chase. And Hangman got to do both. There's only one other person in AEW that got to do that like he did, but we'll get to him later. I could say he went 30 minutes with Bryan Danielson and then leave it at that, but that wouldn't be a very fun video now, would it? The amount of things that Kenny Omega managed to do in the year he spent as world champion is kinda nutty when you think about it. He had bangers against Christian Cage, Rich Swann, Pac and Orange Cassidy, Jungle Boy. He also held 2 other world titles at the same time while simultaneously defending it against people from those companies' rosters. During the pandemic era of wrestling, when you could argue it was the hardest to be able to do that not just on your body for traveling and wrestling, but also to keep everybody safe. He even came out of one of the worst received matches and programs of AEW history with the exploding barbed wire deathmatch fiasco, and still managed to be the top guy and insanely popular during the peak era of their popularity. Everyone knew it was coming with him being an EVP of the company, but you know you're good at your job when during a heel run as an executive vice president, people still think you deserve to be the champion because they know you're just that damn good. Yes, it's true that his first run with the world title made him the longest running AEW world champion, and he's a 2-time world champ, but it's deeper than that. The very essence of MJF's character in AEW never changed, no matter whether he was getting cheered or booed or how he was getting booked. He's a slimy heel that tells you exactly what he's going to do and gets the job done with a smile on his face. And when he's playing a babyface world champ, all he's doing is reinforcing the fact that the biggest trick the devil ever pulled is making you think he doesn't exist. Then there's the stories and matches, which, where do I begin? Better Than You, Baby with Adam Cole is to this day one of the hottest things that AEW ever had, and it's a shame that injuries kept it from being able to have a good ending and just kind of derailed the hell out of it in hindsight. His Iron Man match with Bryan Danielson at Revolution was the best match that has happened under the AEW banner so far, and I will die on that hill. He went through hell and back multiple times with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, and most other defenses saw him being a classic chicken shit heel that was always getting the job done in the way that only MJF knows how to. The stories he also tells with his short matches, like the ones with Brody King and with Darby Allin, also have a deceptive level of depth to them, which really makes you think and realize how genius it is when he loses short matches in the manner that he does. It takes a modern day legend to do modern day legend shit. Speaking of modern day legends, if Hangman is the protagonist, Jon Moxley's the main character. I don't even have to bring up the fact that he's the first and only person to be the men's world champion 4 times in that company. Sure, the middle 2 runs were kinda whatever, but that still leaves 2 other generational runs that did so much for his character and for the reputation of the company in completely different ways. His first run established himself as a heart and soul fighting champion, willing to toe the line of being a tweener but still have unconditional fan support and cheers because his character is principled and will fight tooth and nail to defend what's his. And we, yes we, as an audience, respected that and respect the hell out of it to this day. Standout matches from this time include his defenses against Darby Allin, MJF, Eddie Kingston, and the late Mr. Brody Lee. Then on the flip side, his latest run saw him be the antithesis of all of that, betraying the people that he claims to care about, being so insecure about getting the job done that he had to hide behind his faction, and betraying every single one of those principles that made the same people that were cheering him genuinely hate him. Standout matches from this run include his defenses against Orange Cassidy, Powerhouse Hobbs, Swerve Strickland, and the Anarchy in the Arena match. You could argue that this made him the most hated heel in AEW history so far, and yet, those same people that were booing him and waiting for him to drop that title and just let go of that briefcase were screaming to see him win the Continental Classic in literally the exact same year. That's not something that happens unless you are insanely good at your job, and Jon Moxley was insanely good at being AEW World Champion. So those are my opinions. That's how I think the AEW Men's World Champions stack in relation to each other, but tell me,